Hi, welcome. This is Emma Brooke with another video vlog. And today I wanted to talk about how to stop other people affecting your emotions. And this is something I hear time and time again, and it's quite interesting when you examine your own language, how often this affects you and affects other people. So often we hear, or sometimes I even find myself saying, oh, that person annoys me so much, or that person really gets me down, or that person really drains my energy, or wow, whenever I'm around that person, I feel so happy, and that person is the key to my happiness. And it can go both ways, as I just said. Sometimes people can seemingly be the key to your happiness and your joy and your success, and equally they can be the people who you deem to be responsible for making you feel down, making you feel angry, making you feel sad, making you feel upset. And the difficulty with that is that you're putting your emotions and your emotional well-being into the hands of other people who you have no control over, which isn't that great when you're trying to obviously be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. And when we do this, when we put our emotional well-being into the hands of other people, it's because we've somehow made them feel special, or we've made them special in our minds. And this is something that the metaphysical text, A Course in Miracles, teaches. And it's something that I struggle with massively myself, so that's why I thought it would be a good topic for today's little talk. So the Course talks about making people special, and that's quite a confusing concept, because in my mind, when I hear making somebody special, I imagine putting them on a pedestal and making them really amazing, and they're the people that make me happy and all that sort of stuff. And actually, what A Course teaches is anybody who you deem separate to yourself is special. You've made them special, because in actual fact, we are all equal. We are all different sides of the same coin. We are all part of the collective consciousness. We are all part of the same energy. We are all part of the universe. So even though we do have, to an extent, different entities, different personalities, we're all part of the same thing. So when we put somebody on a pedestal, either high or low, and by that I mean, if you've got somebody in your mind now who you think they always annoy me, they always wind me up, they always know how to push my buttons, they're special to you because you've made them separate to yourself. And they're special because they're different and they're separate, and they're the ones that know how to push your buttons. The same thing with people who make you joyful and happy. It's not actually them that's doing that. If you come back to this concept of us all being part of the same thing, part of the same universe, the power that that person has over you to make you happy or sad is actually your own power. It's part of you. They are part of you. You are part of them. So whatever they have, you have too. It's a tricky one to get your head around. I'm sorry if you're there scratching your head going, oh my god, this just blew my mind. Let it sit for a bit and percolate, and maybe try and identify in your own relationships where you've put people on pedestals, where you've made people out to be responsible for your emotions, because ultimately they're not. They're a part of you. And if they're pulling something out of you that's negative, if they're pulling out unhappiness or frustration or anger, it's normally a mirror, it's a reflection of something going on in you. When I was very unsure of my path, when I wasn't following my intuition years ago, and I was kind of debating about whether I should quit my job and become a yoga teacher, I got a lot of negative reactions, and a lot of negative reactions from my parents. You know, how can you do this? You can't possibly make money out of this. You have a good career. What are you doing? And at the time, I got very defensive about it and tried to argue. And now I realise, looking back, that actually I'd made those particular people, particularly my parents, incredibly special. And I thought their opinion was the be-all and end-all, and very different to myself and very separate to myself, and much higher valued opinions than my own. But also, the emotions that they were coming out with were my deepest fears that they'd just materialised. They'd picked up on and they'd materialised it back to me. Now, when I tell people that I do this for a living, I never get a negative reaction. In fact, I get wonderfully positive reactions because I'm very comfortable with my path. So when you have these people on pedestals, it's not helpful, because you know that when they go away, you feel sad, or when they go away, you feel happy, alternatively, if they were winding you up. So the first step is to really become aware of who you've put on a pedestal. And that can be quite difficult, because very often, particularly with the negative ones, you don't like to admit that you've made somebody who really annoys you special in your mind. But you have to admit it in order to fix it. So there are some wonderful people in my life that I've put on pedestals, and there are some horrible people in my life that I've put on pedestals. And I have to admit that to myself and forgive myself, and use that brilliant mantra from Gabrielle Bernstein: I forgive myself, I choose to see this differently. And genuinely mean it. And when you just open up to the possibility of having the light shine in and transform that relationship, it will transform. And I've had experiences myself where I roller coaster. So I do this, and for a few minutes or a few days, I can really feel a level playing field with this person or these people. And I've really taken them off that pedestal and made them equal to myself, and seen them as a part of myself, as a mirror image of myself, of the universal energy. And that's a huge relief, because they no longer have that power over you to dictate your emotions. But then something will happen, or I'll lose contact with the universe a little bit, my meditation won't go to plan that day, and I'll be straight back, and they'll be up on that pedestal dictating my emotions. And I have to start again and recognise it and say, I forgive myself, I choose to see this differently. And it will yo-yo back and forth, and some people it'll be easier to do with than others. So I'm not saying this is a quick fix, but it's something that can happen, and it's really important, I think, to recognise the people who are dictating your emotions, because they shouldn't have that power, because they are a part of you, and it's your power. You are dictating your emotions. You have that choice. So there's a few meditations that I do to help me with this as well, but I would recommend, I think Gabrielle Bernstein has one where she visualizes, I think it's a rays of light, maybe if you Google the rays of light, but you imagine basically you're sat opposite the person who you are putting up on a pedestal and having made special, and you basically send them love. So you send yourself love. You imagine a golden ray of light coming down and bathing you in universal love and light and energy, and you imagine that same ray of light bathing them, and then you send them energy from your heart. You send them loving kindness. And if this is a person who you don't like, this is really tough. But you do it with the intention of making that person equal and showing universal love to that person. And you can do that and just sit with it, and sit with it until you're both bathed in this same light and love. And just see how that feels. And it might be, that you do a reflection afterwards and really sit and just think about how that made you feel, and what emotions it brought up for you, what thoughts it brought up for you. Because that can be really clarifying as well. There's a lot of work that I do with clients about reflection, about becoming more aware of their feelings. Because we become numb to it. As a society, we numb out our feelings. We create a surface level of happy or sad, and we don't let ourselves experience the real deep emotions that are within us because they're scary. But in order to address them and move through them and be truly joyful and happy, we have to acknowledge our feelings first. So yeah, sit with that and see how it goes. I'd love to talk more about this and give more advice on this as well, because it is a journey that's really personal to me and dear to my heart. So if you would like some more advice, please leave a comment in the notes. I'd love to get in touch with you. And equally, you can have a look at my website, emmabrook.net. There are loads of blog articles there, and I do a whole program on this sort of thing as well. So if that's something that interests you, head on over to the Work With Me page. Alright, well, have a lovely weekend and take care. Bye.